Hello, beloved. Welcome to today. I was inspired to start the podcast with a divination practice of pulling a card. When I was shuffling the deck, I really just focused on what does the essence of the world need right now in this fast moving transition from so many different octaves of energy, meaning moving from dense forms to higher forms. What I pulled was the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune really reminds me, I just love this card, is fast movement of one phase to another. It also reminds me of going back to scripture. And it is this fiery image in the book of Ezekiel that represents the universe and the path that we travel through in this world and into the afterlife. It's this enduring connection of really between the world and the next phase, the power from as above, so below. And that our greatest fortune is the outcome of our deepest intention, our deepest desire that we set within ourselves. And I've also talked about global psychic intuition. This beautiful Wheel of Fortune really resembled the message around going back to what is the global psychic intuition is this premise vertical alignment with our intuition. We're seeing this uprising of people and their mediumship and their intuition and consciousness. One of the biggest things that for myself is the sensitivity of my relationship to my guides and my angelic friends, such as my brother and my sister, Christelle and Kelsey. I can really sense them. And I'm getting used to the sense of turning on to AM, PM frequencies of when I'm not holding enough light. So I wanted to remind us of this global psychic intuition, which is being tapped into our devices, tapped into the collective consciousness, tapped into Telegram channels or Twitter X channels, and listening to constant overflow of other people's opinions really detracts and makes our veil even more fuzzy in a more perspective of octaves, of the frequency of octaves and how we can fine tune the octaves. And then I wanted to end with how can we pour into ourselves with grace? So I'm going to go ahead and show the image of the Wheel of Fortune. And as I'm dialing in, really tap into what's in motion for you right now. What maybe needs to slow down? And what is this fate and destiny that you see in this beautiful Wheel of Fortune card? The Hindu word with the element of fire also means guru, which is so appropriate because it really means aligning with the planetary planet of Jupiter, that it is your guide throughout your life. It's providing you with this sense of direction and how you approach problems in your life and your relationship. And the Jupiter planet is really one of greater fortune. It's related to your highest ideas and creativity and your purpose to bring you this inner happiness. So as you dial in on this card, be prepared for something amazing to happen. As we move into this global psychic network, we're constantly connected to our devices. We lose this direct channel, then we become disjointed and depleted. We feel anxious, we get defensive, we get really this feeling of stuckness, right? So it is the tuning inward of this practice daily. It's about really finding that balance, like I said, between that FM and AM. Like, who are you listening to? Is that me? What can I dial into internally? And what's coming in externally? So, this then comes into this metaphor of this beautiful internal orchestra, because we understand frequency, it is an octave. So, really, of all aspects of ourselves, I am physical here, you are physical, but we're not. We're density. So think of yourself as a complex orchestra. And then when these different parts of you are in sync or out of sync, it creates that dissonance. It drains your energy. But when you strive for that harmony, you're in tune. You're cultivating that resilience and that greater sense of flow. by being able to detach yourself from all these other thought forms right now in society, you really learn to integrate all of those ups and downs. You feel more connected to yourself and to others, and you don't go into these deep seated judgment. Even those small amounts of mindfulness or in discussion with someone that can help you with your channel will directly impact how you move through this world, just like the Wheel of Fortune. It really reminds us of tuning into the internal and external input so that you can broaden the octaves of your awareness to engage more fully in the world around you, but being in the higher realms of the world around you. Now, one of my favorite, and she was my first teacher, was Caroline Myss. She uses this term of defying gravity. When we look at the powers of grace, it can help us deal with what we maybe can't help ourselves with, right? This is why we look at defying gravity, and if we look at the Wheel of Fortune, is that things are constantly in motion. They're in ebb and flow, female, masculine. And this brings about the gravity of the physical world. But what I'm talking about here is the mystical world, the spiritual, energetic, subtle body world. It's that gravity that we want to give weight to. And we give weight to our energy and what's around us, going back to the global psychic network, to things that are disempowering. I want to give you an example. Let's say you're in this full room, you're with all of your inspired, maybe it's a mastermind or you're with your spiritual friends. And let's say I have this pen. I ask all of you, who wants my pen? Nobody. Why would you want my pen? Of course you don't want my pen. That's the point. So be in that moment, go back into your mind's eye, what it feels like to remember when it feels like nothing matters. You don't have any connection to something, to not care that I use this pen, that you use this pen, that you'll never need to even see it again. It means nothing to you. If I said, whoever gets this pen, I'm telling you right now, it will start writing out fluidly all the answers to all your problems. I would create an illusion if I did that. It's an illusion. And it would cause people, and perhaps you, energy, and you'll literally start hemorrhaging and attaching to this pen. So then you start thinking, if I don't get this pen, I'm not going to X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be loved. I'm not going to get the life that I want. I'm not going to get married. I must have that pen. It's an illusion. And so all of this venom that toxicity creates from judgment, from false deities, from being disconnected from the spirit realm, is generated in people. The jealousy, the competition, the compare and despair, the judgy McJudy in this pen. That's all it takes is one illusion. So we live in this world of illusions. It's in our head. And now this is one of my greatest lessons in this life, is to get out of my head, because I am super masculine. I love thinking. I love creativity, but I'm moving more into the creativity of the open heart space, which has allowed me more patience and self-love and more grace. And so when you start attaching your precious spirit to something outside of yourself and you assign this value to it, you assign your power to it. And you're assigning your power to it, whether it's a car or a course or a modality or this mastermind you have to be in because you've leveled up so far in your business to have the next ticket in your wealth 10K in one day bullshit. You gotta have this, you gotta have that. But there's an equation. And that is the most irrational thing that a human being can do. But we do it all the time. And that equation is left in our primal brain, in our amygdala, in our default mode network. It's the oldest part of our brain. We can see this going on with the industry, the drug industry right now with Ozempic, LP1 drugs. It's said that we could have a skinny USA of America within 5 years because this drug is just an example of turning off the ability to turn off these primal brain networks of primal addiction. So we decide we have to have this, we have to have that, we have to have attention to meet our self-worth. All of these things we give gravity to. And here's what's true. The more gravity you give to things around you, your past, your memories, your wounds, the stuff that you have to have, it is the attention that the more you drain yourself of your power, that you lose by this gravity. So as you create a field of psychic weight, you become dense. Now, going back to the global psychic intuition network, you become dense. You actually become dense. You become heavier. And it's reflected in a heavy psychic state that people get into. What does this look like? We go to the DSM and we analyze you and we tell you that you are severely depressed. You have anxiety disorder. All in it is this heaviness, the absence of creativity, connection to the higher realms, your guides, the spirit world, the absence of being able to hold your attention. So the diffusion of yourself impacts the way in which you energize the law of creation, the way you energize synchronicity, the way you energize coincidences and positive actions and reactions, because you've stepped out of your power. Most of the time unconsciously. I will be the last person to blame you, shame you, or tell you're doing something wrong. There's nothing to fix. But your power has been dismantled. So you have to borrow power or utilize power. So you tend to either start complaining as a way of getting a dose of your power from somebody, or you start grabbing onto thought forms that are collective thought forms, like all those people are ruining our country. It's a collective thought form. It's all program that other people believe, that you start settling into this collective thought form and you think that this is consciousness for you. But the reality is you're too exhausted or you've disempowered to generate this highly sophisticated perception of yourself that is an illusion. And it's a very dangerous one. If we give too much gravity to one of them, we lose the essence of the beauty of the wheel of fortune, that everything is always in motion, but the focus is who's moving the wheel. And that's where grace comes in again and again in 1,000 and a million ways. And oftentimes we just get too weighed down. So how can you lighten your load? How can you ask for help? How can you get more resourceful? How can you start to tap out of the collective consciousness and be softened? Because when that happens, we have to wait longer for healing. It's a play on words. We get weighted down, but that means you have to wait longer. And thinking in terms of how I solve this problem is a lens that I'm broken, where I need fixing as a resolution. That's just adding more weight. So over all these years of the best of intentions of trying to accelerate in our journey, we just create more weight versus what do you want? What do you desire? And then making a choice. I practice it. We all practice it. We all must practice it in the lens of grace. We need a level of light that no longer is generating that frequency, but that what is of grace. Convert it to grace. Grace means understanding. to give me the grace to understand the larger picture of what I'm doing here. Or what can I help this person see through my grace of no judging them, but really holding space for them to help me understand maybe this person better because I don't get them. And I need grace in the moment to heighten my altitude of light, go vertical. So that's how you take a simple word of judgment or judgmental emotions and you just fill it and soften it with grace. And it becomes a current that runs through you vertically. And you start thinking and responding at the speed of light because you're not weighed down by the weight, by giving yourself continual access to grace. So as we close up today's message, going back to the Wheel of Fortune, what else do you see in this card? What else sticks out to you? Now, the Wheel card is the number 10. It means the chance of rolling this dice of life. It's the alchemical signals and symbols of all the spokes on the wheel representing the 4 elements of withholding within yourself earth, air, fire, and water, leading with fire. Now, hermetics, as I shared, is this beautiful figure of representing fate and your destiny, ascension, rising from the senses of the state of the divine with more understanding. And the clouds that are in this interference with our ability to see the world around us more clearly by releasing the weight. And lastly, the Sphinx on the top in the middle is this symbol of life's mysteries. And to me, that connects back to the message of the connection of the mystic, intuitive weight, which is one of play and innocence and non-judgmental, versus the opposite. So this is a decisive moment. This is a place of good fortune. This is a play of life cycles and destiny and turning points. So I just want to welcome you into the Wheel of Fortune for the week or for the day and just deeply reflect what this means to you. Sending you all my love, all my light, and we'll see you on the next one.